Tropical Storm Francine has been upgraded to Category 1 Hurricane Francine just off the coast of Texas. It is expected to continue to remain a strong Category 1 hurricane as it makes landfall, but there is a possibility it will reach Category 2 status, which I will be keeping an eye on. It is a real threat. Back here in this tab, we have a satellite image of Francine. You can't really see the eye in this image, but we can clearly see where this core is, where the strongest storms are. We can see that where these towering clouds are. That's where the heaviest rains, strongest winds will occur. And out here in these bands, we do have other storms now starting to pop up and climb. Those will be supercells we'll have to watch out for tomorrow, along with up here in this area. All this is just one massive storm, pretty much. But where other areas of the hurricane will have their own little bits like tornadoes, wind, and heavier rains. Looking at future radar, obviously it's a hurricane now, and the eye won't really show probably until about later this afternoon or later tonight. But as the hurricane gets closer to landfall, it'll steadily get stronger. But once it really starts to make landfall, it'll start to weaken nearly immediately. And like I said, it could hit like a low end Category 2 hurricane, but it is still expected to be just a strong Category 1. But there's obviously that potential it could hit Category 2 as it makes landfall. We still have these outer bands out here, which we will have to keep an eye on. These areas could these storms could produce multiple tornadoes tomorrow and into the next couple of days as the hurricane continues to move inland into Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama. It'll weaken. However, let's wait for it to load a bit. These outer bands and the remnants of the hurricane Francine, it will still hold potential to drop tornadoes. No damaging winds, however, flooding will definitely still be an issue. As we continue to just go on and on, we still have multiple of these storms just staying in place, posing a risk for more flooding, tornadoes, and right now especially from the southeast, the east portions of Tennessee into all of Alabama, just about, and even southwest and west portions of Georgia. If you live in any of those areas, you have to keep an eye on these areas. And in case these storms pose a higher end risk for tornadoes, I will be live in the next couple of days. Going on into the SBC, since we are speaking and talking about tornadoes, they have released a level 2 out of 5 slight risk here for Wednesday, September 11th. I forgot to turn on that. Hang on, let me turn on that real quick. Okay, there we go. Anyways, right here we do have that 5% hatched risk from southeast Louisiana all the way into the western Florida panhandle. That is the greatest risk for tornadoes as this hurricane makes landfall. Those outer band storms will pose a major risk for tornadoes. And I may not be live on this particular event due to it possibly occurring later in the day, but if it does occur at some point earlier in the day, then I should be able to go live soon after 4 o'clock. And here is Thursday, I believe. I'm pretty sure this is indeed Thursday. There's a level 1 marginal risk here for a continuation of tornado possibilities. However, I do think it could go to a level 2 slight risk, and if it does, and it occurs later on in the day, then I will go live and I will cover it down there. It seems to primarily be in northwest Florida through southern and central to northern Alabama and far eastern Mississippi. and the rest will be just the rest of these little green spots out here and the rest of the area. That is just other remnants of Francine. Now let's talk about next week's potential severe weather. Let's go ahead and continue on out through the next couple of days. We do have out here this area that is tropical storm or now hurricane Francine making landfall. And we do have this other system out here in the northern U.S. states. And I don't think that's going to primarily concern anything that's not going to be too concerning. However, going into next week, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, we see this trough kind of come out. Nothing too terribly concerning. It's what's behind it. As we enter Thursday into Friday, we see this area where it dips down in the jet stream into the Great Plains. That is what we have to keep an eye on as it moves in. This will help create a potential severe weather threat. I'm not entirely sure which areas that I particularly would add, but something we still should keep an eye on nonetheless. As this continues, it kind of just stays there, and as it moves slightly north, we just something we don't particularly see too often. But into the weekend, we see this other trough start coming out in the jet stream. That is possibly another strong system we might have to keep an eye on. Moisture in the area. So far in the Great Plains, it's looking extremely dry and nothing much else. However, if we go into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after as Francine makes landfall, and after it'll help bring a lot of moisture into the Great Plains like Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas. And as we go into next week, that moisture will really begin to ramp up continuously, especially into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We can see mid to upper 60s in Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas, northern Texas. And seeing where this trough is now and where this moisture boundary is, we can see a sharp point of where moist air meets with dry, warm air. That is something we'll have to keep an eye on because that could help dedicate and determine a strong weather system. And going into Thursday, we got actually going into Wednesday night, or sorry, early morning. Wait, hang on, am I going crazy? Okay, yeah, late into Wednesday and into Thursday morning, we do see more 70s in Oklahoma and maybe even some in Arkansas. And then we can really see that point difference again, where we just see where that warm, dry air meets that moist, wet air, unstable air there in the Great Plains. This stretches all the way out to Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on all the way up there as well. And going into the weekend, it's not looking particularly like anything, but maybe some splashes of extra moisture, but could just be some extra rain or because it definitely seems like the moisture will start to go back down. Looking at future radar, we can clearly see Category 1 or even 2 Hurricane Francine making landfall in Louisiana. And if I can, like I said, if I can, I will go live on that, but we'll just watch how it moves up to the north. It almost kind of stalls out over eastern Arkansas and even western Tennessee, and that's eventually going to move out. Looking into next week, though, let's go and sketch this up a little bit. Let's go into Tuesday. We'll get a quick some rain in the central and southern Great Plains. However, once we go into Wednesday, we see more rain in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas. Thursday, that's where we suddenly see this explosive system blow up into several thunderstorms, reaching out from South Dakota all the way down to western Texas. And I want to say I want to say it's a squall line, but from the early looks of it, it definitely could pose some risk of wind, especially down here in this Texas area. However, still too far out to tell, but from the looks of it, it could be some sort of wind event. And this is the Wednesday into Thursday, so possibilities it could be an overnight thing, or even so that is not good. But also, it looks like we do have some isolated structure in here, so tornadoes can find themselves in the forecast. Then these isolated storms, from the looks of it, could be a major threat when it comes to tornadoes. And as it goes on through Thursday, it looks like the Thursday night into possibly Friday morning. Sorry, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we can clearly see that it looks like it just kind of moves on, but it still strengthens overnight from Wednesday into Thursday morning and all throughout Thursday into Friday, early Friday morning, where it continues down to the southeast. But we also see this up here, this rain and possible thunderstorms. That is something else we'll have to keep an eye on, as it looks like it just kind of spins in place, but that could pose some flooding risks. And that is the end of that pretty much. It definitely looks like some sort of severe weather event will go down across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and even South Dakota. The jet stream looks doesn't look particularly strong. However, that can change very quickly. Moisture could be up in the mid to upper 60s or even some isolated low 70s. And from the looks of it, it looks like it could be a wind event for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. Looks like it could be a wind event. I will be keeping an eye on for potential for tornadoes and hail as well. And I will keep everybody updated for this system and any other possible systems in the future. We are now entering fall, which means we will see a second severe weather season as things start to cool down and more favorable for more severe weather. Along with the tropics, we are now entering peak hurricane season, and we are seeing the tropics starting to heat up with hurricanes and whatnot. So I'll keep an eye on everything, and I will give you guys updates every few days with this system.